We are live. Welcome back to my bi-monthly comic stream on my comic book channel. This is New Comic Book Day Book Club. My name's Alec. That's John. You probably know that already if you're here.
And we got new comics.
We got, well, sort of new now. 3 weeks old at this point. But that's how we do things around here. This is New Comic Book Day Book Club. Isn't it crazy to think that when we started this show, we actually read books and talked about them the day they came out every week?
And I was legit in most cases actually going to the shop that day or the night before and buying them and doing it all in that period. And not now, just reading it digitally or whatever.
Now we do it once a month and I'm like, I don't have time to read these books.
Fair.
The world is, I don't know, something happened in 2020, messed everything up.
It's true.
But on a lighter note, let's talk about books about murder. How are you, by the way?
I'm doing all right. It's been an incredibly busy couple of weeks here. The end of the school year stuff is always very exciting. Lots of things going on.
Having kids and working in a school, I can imagine it's
well, yeah. My daughters, their lives, their end of year events and things, and then work end of year things. Yep.
Yeah. So, anyway, good talk.
Yeah.
Hey, TJ.
What's up, TJ?
Oh, snap. Well, I know who remembered, so by process of elimination.
My bad. Yeah. No excuses. I'm bad. I'm bad with birthdays. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You don't remember mine either. No, that's not true. But that's only because he knew it was my birthday because we had to cancel D&D because of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it fell on. There was another day, right?
It's also Mother's Day.
It was also, I was going to say it was another day. It had another thing. I know I have it in my phone, TJ. Do I see it anywhere? It didn't give me the warning. Is it? It's not. Is it today?
No.
Okay.
You are.
Oh, it's the 20th of May. I see it.
I was going to say you're off by about 2 weeks.
There you go.
Well, happy belated once again.
Right. Hello, John.
Oh, well, right back at you, buddy. Too kind. So we got a couple books we're talking about this week that involve a lot of potential and or actual killing. In a way, they're kind of the same book. In other ways, they are most certainly not.
Deep.
But I guess you could say that about anything. If you look hard enough, it's the same thing. Schindler's List,
printed on paper. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Probably could have picked better examples there.
I think yeah, there's bullying in both, right? They're both about bullying.
The plastics are basically the Nazis.
Jeez. You're going to get this show shut down. I don't think you can even say that anymore.
Well, I don't think I have the viewership for YouTube to care. Why don't we talk about comic books?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. So yeah, we got 3, or technically 2 and a quarter books tonight.
We're gonna start by talking. I mean, unless you want to start with the other one, but I
think the other ones will go pretty quick. So let's stick with this one. It's got more juice.
Yeah, the heft of the episode. Not only because we want to talk about it, because this book is thick.
Big boy.
Thick. Got some cake.
And she has her phone?
She has her phone.
Okay, sorry.
She's in her bag. She's going on rides.
Okay, sorry. All good with Charlie at Knott's Berry Farm. Thank you.
Should be back after 8.
Okay. Sorry.
There was some amusement park shenanigans going on.
Yeah, end of your Charlie trip,
in the pre-show.
Yep. I ended up buying a one of the blind bags too.
Yeah, so did I. I've not opened mine.
Oh, should we do an unboxing at some point? Because I haven't opened mine either.
So as far as I know, they're all the same card. Just some of them are foil or something. I don't know.
Oh, I had heard there was a variety of cards, but that the comic was the same in all of them. It was like a black and white variant or something of the cover A or something. We can find out together.
Yeah, I've heard conflicting things. One is that each issue is going to come with a different card, and or they each come with multiple. I don't know. I wasn't going to buy more than one blind bag. I just wanted to get a copy. Apparently, so
it's not Battle Beast.
Before we get into the actual comics,
sure.
I want to talk about the background to the comic a little bit.
Okay.
Because I don't fully understand it, but my reading comprehension is not the best.
I can explain it. I really liked it, and I don't usually make like full videos on books anymore. Like just an edited video or whatever. And I did for this one.
So the reason I read a lot of comics is because my reading comprehension has never been the best, or not comprehension, but my brain tends to wander a lot, and the pretty pictures help me pay attention. So the article I read about this before it came out, it was an interview with James Tynion, who is the writer, Mr. Tiny Onion himself. And he and the artist, whose name is Walsh, right? Michael Walsh.
Yes.
Basically, the idea that they came up with was that this idea for the comic is also a game that is playable, but the creation of the comic itself is also a game that they are playing with other creators. And that's where it lost me.
Okay.
Did you hear about any of this?
I had heard that the term exquisite corpses exists in the world, and it has to do with like creative endeavors that are like those games you could play at camp where I would tell the beginning of the story and then you would tell the next part of the story and you would tell the next part of the story. That there was that was a term that I had never heard before. And that possibly this comic would not only be titled that and not only be, the story that it is, but that it would also be an exquisite corpse in some way.
Yes, correct.
Is that accurate? Okay, good.
But speaking of the blind bags, the card that comes in it is a game card that they are working on releasing an actual physical card game that you can use this card and play in the game.
Okay. Wow.
So this is a very multi-tiered, kind of meta project.
Okay.
That is.
And ultimately, I had not heard.
My concept.
Yeah. And I had not heard any details. It felt like the details were very light on what this might look like in the future. But at the present, it does seem like Tynion's got a story to tell.
Yeah.
You're loud.
Since you did a video on this already, do you want to kind of recap the?
I'm happy to
try to tackle that.
No. I'd love to do it, and if I mess up or forget something, feel free to let me know.
Okay.
The main character for me in this first issue is the town of Oak Valley. It's the focus seems to be on this tiny town, and it starts with the local sheriff who's going to the quickie stop, the gas station, like he normally does, but he seems to be a little bit different with the attendant, and the attendant has all these like conspiracy podcasts he's talking about and things, and the sheriff is like
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
but only
the sheriff is
talking
like,
from the behind the counter at the gas station.
It's fair.
Which, if only Joe Rogan could do that.
So it's this small town, and it's Halloween night or evening, I should say, and the sheriff is just acting a little cagey, and he says, "I got this letter from my friend Laura. Has she been in yet?" And he's like, "No, she hasn't come in yet." He's like, "Okay, well, can you give this to her when she comes by?"
I think it's his niece.
Is it his niece? Oh, I thought it was a.
It's at the end, I think
that's fine.
Well, you can keep talking. I'll talk.
That's fine. And then he basically drives off from the gas station and meets this sort of odd looking guy on the way out of town. And this person basically buys the sheriff. And, the sheriff's like, "I'm going to leave. Here are the keys to the jail."
Prearranged.
Yeah. Clearly the sheriff has been bought off, and he's basically like being paid to leave the town to this guy for whatever reason. And he gives the keys over to this guy. He gets into this other guy's car and has a bag of money, and he just drives off.
And a new ID, new passport, new car.
The other guy gets on a headset and he says, "Okay, we're good to go. Everything's set." And all these drones go up, all these cameras turn on, and we jump to this sort of like Squid Games, like office space with like television screens everywhere, and they're basically like a dinner party waiting to happen, and we get a little sense of like an event about to occur in this town, which now clearly has no policing in any way.
Right. It's a super like one stoplight type of town too. It's not like So the police force may be literally the sheriff.
Right. But then the story skips around a little bit. We jump to a helicopter with the number 13 on the side. It lands outside of a deserted cabin. This old woman goes in, and there's this sort of ripped, think Arnold in Commando kind of scene where the chopper lands. This woman goes in. She's got expensive whiskey. She's trying to tempt this guy, and she's talking to him about her hiring him for this event, this big thing that's happening. And basically she's trying to explain to him the reasons why she wants him to do this and kind of what it all, I know she doesn't tell him too many details at this point, but she's basically trying to buy him to compete for her in some sort of event. And then little by little, we keep jumping back to the television room, and one by one, these incredibly rich folks, each one representing one faction within the 13.
The original 13 colonies.
Starts arriving. They represent a colony, and they have a playing card that is highlighting, kind of like in Clue, a weapon. And they come in, they present the card, and the card represents both them and the champion that they've hired to represent them in this contest.
So I was under the impression that they kind of like drew straws with these cards, and that like every time they do this event, each colony gets a different card and then have to find a champion who can win using the means outlined.
100%. Yes, they get the card, and then they choose a champion that might represent that card. So if it's fire, they might find an arsonist, right? If it's a sniper rifle or something, they might choose a deadly assassin, right?
Which seems like wildly unfair in certain regards, because there's like drones.
Yeah, one of them's like, one's a lightning bolt, like it's electricity, right? And
one can use explosives, one can use guns.
Yeah.
One can use only their hands.
Their bare hands, yeah.
And like, sure, some people are extremely potent at hurting people with their hands, but
a hammer. I got a hammer.
Not against explosives or drones.
I mean, it's all hilariously Hunger Gamesy,
Yeah.
Squid
And
Gamesy.
it's very, very like over the top, where they're like, Rhode Island has the
The rope.
card, and then
Yeah, and
it shows this like very dramatic like
this
Scott
person who looks
Pilgrim-esque,
like a
zoom
Spider-Man
in,
clone, and he's like, he looks
and
like Spider-Boy. He's
like,
got like all
here's
these
the
ropes.
rope guy, and he's killing people with ropes, and
Yeah,
it's got his
yeah.
name in like bold
Recluse.
graffiti.
Yep.
So very, very stylistic.
Yeah.
Like you can see this in an animation or a movie
very
or
cinematic for sure.
oh,
Hey,
hi, kitty cat.
what are you doing, you punk? You're like out of control today. What are you doing? Get in there. Get in the chair. Yeah, get in the chair. This has been hilarious because I've interrupted the show now 3 times.
I mean, it's par for the course.
But here's what
Usually
I'll say about what
eating
you're
or talking off screen. Or
it's like telling that kid to be quiet, checking in on the other kid, playing with the cat. Here's what I'll say about this. What I like about the comic, what I think this issue does well, is it balances what you're talking about, which is this like way over the top, like you're saying, almost like anime, like sequences of each colony representing a card and showing off their killer with the folks in the town. And
Yeah.
I like the juxtaposition, and I really connected with the town folk like right away.
Mhm.
We have the quick stop guy, we have the sheriff, but then we also get this gay couple, and they're getting ready for Halloween. One of them is super excited about Halloween, the other one's not really into it, and they get called to help watch one of the kids of their neighbor. And we get to know the kid, we get to know the mom, who has a really brutal job and hates the guy that she's working for, who totally
her
takes
boss,
advantage of her and abuses her as far as like verbally and emotionally.
and her boss is actually referenced by the sheriff when he's handing off the keys to the town, saying like, hey, watch out for this guy, he thinks he runs the town.
Right.
He called me a bunch of times today. So
yeah,
a little foreshadowing there that he's going to play some part in this story potentially.
Right. And so we keep jumping between these, like the town folk getting ready for Halloween to one level or another, and then the next assassins, whether it's the woman from Colony 13 who is trying to convince this mercenary to be her representative at the last second, or it's the card reveals happening in the what I would call the game room or whatever, with all the television sets for the viewing party, right?
Don't make me ban you.
Seriously, my dude. So I will say, like, that juxtaposition, which may not work for others, I totally understand, worked marvelously for me. I found myself giggling at pages. I found myself like just like on the edge of my seat with other characters and their personal dramas, frustrated about things they were dealing with. And I don't want to, I won't get in. We can go back through and do some details. Obviously, the woman does convince the mercenary guy to take up her plea and become her champion. And that plays into that. And it sort of all ends with this town being shut off from the rest of the world in some ways, like electronically, right? These mercenaries going in to start waging their war.
Right. Which we haven't really talked about that yet.
No. Well, yeah. And finally, Laura getting her letter, which is the sheriff telling her, get the hell out of town, don't stay tonight.
She's an EMT who gets called to the first murder.
I'm so excited to talk about this book. I'm like skipping stuff.
Right. So there's a few things I want to touch on.
But so she gets the letter that tells her, don't go into town. Like, he's warning her to stay away, but she chooses to ignore it and drive right into town. So now we throw her into the mix, right, to do her job amidst what we know is going to be a massacre. And So I love that ending for me hooked me in an even bigger, even when I was already all in on this, you threw her story in and I was like, oh, this is exciting. So yeah, I skipped over the idea of the contest, which is the champion from the last time is in charge of choosing the town and setting the parameters for the game.
Well, the colony whose champion won.
Correct. And then the other 12 draw cards, pick their champions, throw them into the mixer, and the winner is the person who runs the nation for the next until the next games, basically.
Right.
That's what's happening kind of like over top of this the town folk.
Right. So yeah, basically it's like they take over this town and they obviously are trying to kill each other, but they're also trying to kill people in the town.
Yes.
It is a running, from what I understand from reading it and reading the interview, there's like a running tally of the number of kills each champion gets until there's only one champion left.
Right. And they get points for killing one another and they get points for killing locals.
But that is one thing I don't understand, because if it's a last man standing thing, what do the points matter?
True. I don't know that they get into the scoring too clearly in this issue. I think that's probably something we'll get as we go along.
Or do you get some sort of advantage if you reach a certain level?
I took it as like collateral, and I don't know that that there was like a strict scoring as much as it is like just there's things in the way of you going after one another. But the main targets are each other, right? The 12 against one another.
But I mean, there has to be some rationale of doing it in a town with civilians rather than doing it somewhere where the champions are just battling out against each other.
I took it as entitled pricks enjoying the collateral damage of whatever happens in these people's lives.
I think going back to your point about the juxtaposition, I think it's very, to me, seemed very intentional that the people in the town, when we're following them, they're very real and grounded and heartfelt and have these personal relationships that we explore, and real day-to-day problems, and and then you get this comedic over the top absurdity of these rich assholes who are playing games with people's lives,
and their champions who are just as wild. Yeah.
So yeah, I think obviously that it is a commentary on the hyper rich and how absurd it is that people like that exist.
Yeah. Classism, class warfare, the caste system is all a big part of this for sure. At least subtextually, if nothing else.
But also, I think that it works on the surface level as well, of like, this is like, as a concept, this is a crazy idea, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
Like, I'm sure wild stuff happens in the world that we don't know about, but for us dumb schmucks, like, this is absurdity. And I think if this was written tonally, that the scenes with the contest people was treated the same way as the scenes of the townspeople, it would seem gross.
I mean, yeah. I think that there's a pulpy kind of style here and I think it's a tricky balance. And my only worry is, can they maintain it going forward? Like, can that balance be consistent all the way through? But it was, I flat out loved this book. And I jokingly called my video, like, is this the best book I'm going to read in 2025? Because it was like, I haven't read an issue 1 that hyped me this much. Maybe, the Deviant was close, but I think this was just a lot more fun right off the bat.
Well, sure. The Deviant is a lot of things, but it is not fun.
No. And nothing against it. It certainly had its own tone, but as far as just like a book that made me like got me just hyped, like it was funny, it was exciting. I didn't see where it was going to go.
Conceptually, it's really good.
Yeah, but the only question I had was, can it be maintained and will it be maintained, right? But as an issue one, it checked all the boxes for me, and it was an instant like, oh, I'm not even going to wait for trades. This is on the pull list until it falls apart. Starts with a wild concept and then it falls apart 95% of the time or loses its thread.
I think 95% of the time is a bit aggressive, but I think, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of his creator-owned stuff works a little better, especially his shorter format pieces. Like, I haven't stuck with Department of Truth or Something's Killing the Children, but all the stuff that I've read of his that is a mini or maxi series with an ending in sight,
right?
I've enjoyed. So,
and just looking at what it says online, like each issue includes Tinian as a writer and includes Michael Walsh as artist and or writer at the same time. But there are other writers coming in, other artists being like given a moment. I don't know what that means overall, what it'll look like each issue. So it's kind of interesting to see several artists and writers. I don't know if that means there's a main story and a secondary story and there's other people teaming up for parts of it,
or if he's going to collaborate with a different writer each issue and they're going to kind of plot the story and he's going to write it, or I don't know. Like I said,
they've solicited 4.
It's very high concept in its creation.
Okay.
Obviously the plot has a heavy concept as well, but the actual facilitation of making the book is high concept. So
yeah,
which is obviously another spanner in the works of will it be good moving forward, because if you're rolling dice to write your story, you can roll in that one pretty easily.
Ooh, and we're back to Sunday.
Yeah, right. This is a D&D channel after all.
I think there's a lot of risk, right? To your point, there's a lot of risk here as a reader buying the book. There's a lot of risk that this could fall apart, and
sure,
clearly Chris is saying the same thing, right? But for me, the amount of joy I got for the $4.99 was so good. I went back and bought the blind bag just to be like, let's just put the money in the pockets of somebody who's entertained me for a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously from a creator's perspective, especially with the amount of work a lot of creators do these days,
yeah,
it must be exciting for them to do something that's a little more entertaining than just sitting down and writing a script where you get to collaborate with your friends.
Chris is listing all the things. I liked Something's Killing the Children, and I'm not all the way up on it. I've been reading it in trades with JP on his show, and he's taking a little break from it. I liked what I read of Wind.
Yeah, I didn't read the second series, but I liked the first one.
I never tried World Tree because the concept didn't really intrigue me. Yeah. But obviously we fairly big fans of Deviant over here. But I understand the frustration for some folks, and there's a big difference between indie writers who can handle a good story and those who can handle an ongoing story, right? Like, I think there's a different skill set for those.
But I mean, obviously Something's Killing the Children has been wildly successful and has a spin-off series, and but yeah, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
What we were just talking about.
Oh, talking about having fun creating a book. So, being or having this sense of excitement about a project you're working on oftentimes leads to a better product.
Sure. Your enthusiasm and your motivation is higher, right?
because you're thinking about it more. You want to make it better because you are excited about it. If it's just something you're slogging through because you're on issue 50 of some series that you don't care about and you're doing it for a paycheck, not to say that writers don't care about doing good work, but when you are enthusiastic about what you're working on, you are typically going to do your, I don't want to say better work, but you will do your best work.
And there's that. I think we've talked about that with creator owned versus, writing
Sure.
for hire. I think there's a difference in that passion for what the story you're telling.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think there are very few, if any, examples I can think of writers who I think their creator-owned stuff is not better than their big two stuff.
Fair.
Because they're writing the stories they want to write, so
and free of a lot of restrictions like they would be elsewhere.
Right. Which we've also talked about a number of times on this show can be a detriment as well, where they don't have anyone. It's the George Lucas syndrome of there's no one there telling them, well, you might want to rethink this part,
right?
Or you might want to reorder this, or
Do you want to open your blind bag?
You want to open your blind bag?
Kind of do now that you've got one too. Do you know where it is?
Yes.
We don't have to. I just thought it was funny.
It's over here somewhere. Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, this is definitely a book that I'm reading more of, and I would score incredibly high as an issue 1.
Right. So basically, couple more things to mention about the plot. The Fox character on the cover is New York's champion, who New York is a very smug asshole, the guy who's running New York, and gets hires this killer because South Carolina, I think, or North Carolina, one of them. He says that they wasted his time trying to get this killer the previous year, and he was pissed off, so he kind of got this killer to spite them. But we don't really see that character much in this first issue. We do, however, see Massachusetts's.
Yes, that's the guy.
That's the guy,
the mercenary
woman is talking to throughout the book.
Yeah,
who they have the gun, which again, got to be one of the better ones,
right?
To get. And one of the half of the gay couple that you mentioned earlier, who is the one excited about Halloween, is in a alley smoking a cigarette, and the Hammer character comes out of nowhere to try to kill him and gets shot in the head by this mercenary guy. Yep, there it is. And the mercenary guy does not kill the civilian. He says, go inside and stay inside. Don't come out till
morning.
Yep. So clearly he's not a complete psychopath like they are making it out to be that these other killers are.
You got it? Nice. Yeah, he definitely seems to have something of a conscience. It's hard to know exactly what it is, but he definitely does not seem to be as sadistic up front as the other characters. So he's called the Lone Gunman.
The Lone Gunman.
Massachusetts drew the gun.
And then, like we said earlier, the character who he leaves the letter for at the beginning is an EMT who gets called to this scene of the crime at the end of issue 1. So that's kind of like where we leave off.
Okay, so this is the cover, right?
Yep.
on the inside. I don't know if that's the one you got as well, but I heard that all the covers are the same on inside the blind bag.
That's what mine looks like.
There you go. And then they had this little thing to cover it. And then it came with a card. We'll see which card you got. I got the Lone Gunman too.
It's not shiny or anything. It's just regular old.
It's just, yeah. They call that matte.
Yeah.
He looks like Wolverine in that when I'm holding him up right now. So I guess maybe all the cards are the same.
I don't know.
To your point, which is not really a blind bag, gang, if they're all the same. Am I?
But I mean, this is a very, very, very small sample size.
Truly. But on other sides of the continent here.
Get my little penny sleeve.
Oh, I'm just going to keep it with the book, I think.
Well, that was
going to go on about.
Glad we
Yeah.
did that.
Because he rules. You're just cheering for Massachusetts. California's not even in this thing. I don't got nothing in this thing.
No, it's the 13 original colonies. Aren't you a teacher?
Yeah, I'm telling him like I don't have anybody to fight for. You guys are Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and I'm sure Justin will be New Jersey. So there you go. For me, definitely the read of the month. Potentially the best single issue certainly the best, I would say, single issue of 2025 so far for me. So
yeah, it was a blast.
High praise.
I mean, it's a little exposition heavy with her talking to the guy, but it's kind of necessary because if we didn't have someone explaining us what's happening, it would be extremely confusing.
Right.
But yeah, you can see it's got like numbers on it and an ability. Yep. So it is an actual game card.
All right. Old Wolf letting us know. Yes, I do agree, Gore, the blind bag thing between this and Battle Beast.
With the success of Battle Beast, which we are about to talk about actually shortly in a minute here, makes me concerned that more people, more companies, more books are going to start doing this, and it's just going to turn the comic hobby into Pokemon cards, where everyone is buying. Which, by the way, absolutely hilarious that people were going in and buying 5 and 10 copies of these books, because what was the cover price of Battle Beast? Like, it's got to be $5, right?
At least, yeah.
You're buying 5 copies of the comic to try to get one of the variants, where all of the foil variants were going, at least on the day of release, were going for like $20 to $25 a piece. You could have just bought the one you wanted on eBay instead of buying 5 and then buying 5 more and opening them and getting the same shit.
And spoiler, I thought the book was trash, so I'm just saying overpaid.
Okay. So,
but let's prep it. Like, if you're not a fan of Invincible and haven't read it, this might not click as easily for you, because this is a spin-off of a character from Invincible, and I've clearly not read enough Invincible because I never even heard of this character.
Well, he's not in the series very much.
Okay, there's 3 compendiums. I have them all, but I've only read the first, and I don't remember him in there. But maybe that's my memory.
I believe, like issue 16 or something is his first appearance.
All right, so then I must have read it and just not remembered it. Clearly, it's left an indelible memory.
So yeah, Battle Beast. Yes, it is directly an Invincible comic. In fact, it starts with him on Earth, having just beat up Invincible and a bunch of other Earth people, and going through a portal to this ship that he had taken over and slaughtered the whole crew of. And basically, the plot is that he is this extremely, extremely, extremely powerful warrior. And he starts talking to the computer on this ship and tells the computer that he is looking for, like, his purpose is to find champions that are worthy to fight him, basically. And the computer says, well, I am programmed to not deceive any living being, so I can't tell you that I won't try to find beings that will kill you. And Battleby says, well, good, that's what I want. So they form this unlikely friendship, and he sends him to his first challenge, which is this creature that's been encased in this big silo of concrete or some sort of stone for thousands of years because he's so dangerous that no one could let him out. And Battle Beast lets him out and fights him and eventually wins. And then there's also a different alien inside of that alien who is like, oh, you defeated my most terrible rival, and he's all messed up and his guts are hanging out. And he asks him for help, and he brings him back to the ship and says he's going to be food. So basically yeah. Battle Beast is completely without redemption so far. He is just a killer. He is traveling the reaches of space in order to kill. But it's super goofy. It's like a hyper-violent Saturday morning cartoon. It is, I don't think, to be taken seriously whatsoever. Is it great? No. Was it amusing? Sure. I think I liked it, from the sounds of it, quite a bit better than John, but like, it is apples and oranges to Exquisite Corpses, right? Like, this is
they're not
very much surface level goofball shenanigans with a lot of alien blood, basically.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, for me, it didn't even work as like popcorn, which I could understand if it was like, a Fast and the Furious, Mission Impossible, whatever, just like
right.
glitzy, shiny bit of entertainment. I just thought it was boring. I was bored. I don't know how a book that's this packed of action can be that flat. Like, it just had no highs and lows. Like, it was just monotone. I liked the only thing I liked was the computer and the way it basically bonded with him in some way. Like, I liked that dynamic. I was still bored with it when I got to the end. Like, I knew early what it was going to be to the end. Like, there was no shocking moments. There was no, revelations, no interesting anything. Even it was just all monotone almost.
I mean, there's no last page villain reveal, thankfully, but I mean, there's a first page villain reveal because he's the villain. Like I said, there's no redeeming qualities of this character. He is, I don't want to say unlikable, because he is what he is. He's not really an asshole. He's just a killer.
Yeah.
But there's no one to really, like, I'm not really necessarily rooting for him, especially because we know he's not going to die, because he dies, spoiler alert, in Invincible. So until we get to that point in this series, we know that he's going to win every fight that he has, so there's no stakes.
Well, I think that almost not knowing that, but now knowing it makes it so much worse, because I was already at the point where I was like, yeah, there's no weight to anything. There's, again, this monotony.
Well, there's even less weight, because
and now there's
he's not fighting for anything except to prove that he's got a big dick. Like, he's not fighting to save his home world. He's not fighting to for his own survival. He's just fighting for his own ego and his own bloodlust.
Yep.
So, like, it's hard to root for him. It's almost just like, oh, I'm watching this MMA fight, but I don't have a stake in who wins. So, like, it's cool to see these two powerhouses beat the hell out of each other, but after it's over, do I care who won? Not really.
And I in some ways you could look at comparatively, as far as books about brawling, you could look at something like Powerbomb or something like the it's not Birds of Prey. What is it? Black Canary, the Tom King Black Canary that just wrapped up. Stories about brawling where you're invested. Like, the characters are interesting. The drama and the struggle they're having is captivating. And there's
but
just none of that here.
Darth Vader is a much
so
more complex
drab,
and nuanced character than this character so far, at least. Darth Vader is layered. This guy is just, I want kill.
Yeah. and in that way, I had a similar, I guess, complaint about one of the Geiger spinoffs, what's this Redcoat guy, in that it felt monotonous to me. That was another guy who just felt like one note. He was just going to be a dick from the beginning to the end. And if they somehow down the line found a redemption arc, I still got to read through how many books of this guy just being a prick before I'm just like, I'm tired of this guy.
Yeah.
And I was tired after issue 1, and I'm tired after this issue 1, the same kind of way. He's not a prick like you're saying, like Redcoat is designed to be, but he's just he's just a killer. Like, he's just a mindless machine. Like, it's in that way, there's nothing to like tie into it for me. So I just, I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah, I'm excited, Chris. I intentionally, like, after the first couple issues, I just stopped reading it because I just want to read the whole thing in a trade. Because I was so into it, I was like, you know what? I just would rather devour it as one story. But that is another great series.
I'm getting more and more into this realization that I don't want to read floppies as much anymore, just because, like, if I have a 6 to 12 issue series that I really like,
sure,
like, it's got to be something like Little Bird level of liking it for me to want to have the individual issues. Otherwise, I'd rather just have a nice hardcover that I can pick up and read easily than have to dig through my bins and pull stuff out of bags if I want to reread something that, is, especially when, like, so much these days is not worth anything.
Right. No, I agree. And it looks like, I just wanted to check that Black Canary Best of the Best doesn't drop till potentially September. So, wah.
Well, I think the last issue just came out, or it's about.
Yeah, it was just. I think it was just in May. It came out in May. But I will absolutely be buying it if there's a hardcover. I'll buy the hardcover because the first 2 issues were that good, and I've heard nothing but good stuff about.
Yeah, I only read the first issue with that same intention of wanting to go back and read it and trade.
So maybe the end of September episode, we'll read that trade. Get ready.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I think Distillery is an example of something that would have been better to do that. Especially because, like, the oversized format looks so great, but I don't have the bags and boards or the boxes to store them, so they end up on my graphic novel shelf anyway. So I might as well just get a graphic novel or a trade and
Facts.
Put it in the same format and give it to me all at once.
Yep.
Just my thought, but
no, spitting facts, man. It's just the truth.
Go off, King.
Bruh.
That's what the kids say these days, right?
Oh man, so many things.
Skibbity, Ohio.
Let them cook. Yeah, so for me, I was bored with it. I don't have any interest in reading anymore. And kudos to people that loved it and spec'd on it and got that bread. But I don't want anything to do with this book. It actually made me less interested in reading Invincible, which is a shame because I still want to get back to the compendiums I purchased because I got them for a steal.
Yeah. I think, and I've said this before, so I this is not a hot take or anything. I think Kirkman is not a great writer. I think he is good at plotting things and making good cliffhangers for you to want to keep reading. Like that, Walking Dead, every trade especially is like, I want to see what happens next. But if you read the dialogue in a bubble, you're like, this is bad. Like the way he writes, the way people talk just doesn't.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And
dog.
I've definitely soured on Walking Dead way before anybody else. I felt like I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get past the prison in either the comic or the show. I was like,
I made it to about issue 100.
But I will say on the other side that he's had other works that I really enjoyed, although it did not necessarily finish, like Oblivion Song. I got pretty deep into Oblivion Song, and dang it, what's the Chris Samney one? The Firepower. I'm all the way up to when they took a big break, and I haven't gone back since the break ended.
Yeah, Brubaker and Phillips make some of the best comics consistently for the last 15 years, like Criminal, Fatale, Kill or Be Killed, all of the original graphic novels they do. They're just great. And obviously they're not the kind of stories necessarily everyone wants to read, but they are always exceptionally well done.
I need to catch up on some of the, I've never read Fatale or Kill or Be Killed.
Kill or Be Killed is a lot of fun.
And I've got a bunch of the more recent ones that I have read that I've got on the shelf there. And I can't remember if they did Reckless together, or if that was just Brubaker, but I've really enjoyed Reckless. That's like their pulp noir detective series. Yeah. I can't remember if it's the two of them together, if it's just Brubaker. But if that's both of them, that might be my favorite thing that they've done. But that's mostly okay. Good. I'm Brian. Thank you. For me, I think I just liked Reckless the most because the hero character was finally like a likable character, like to follow. The other characters are usually just so skeezy that after a while I get tired of them. But I like Reckless. I think he's at least funny and entertaining, even if he is a complete F up,
Yeah, I mean, good luck going into a store and finding Invincible back issues these days. They're just not around. I mean, so many of those issues had such low print runs. And so many of them before the animated series brought the popularity back, or brought the popularity to it in the first place, ended up in dollar bins or $2 bins or whatever, because nobody wanted Invincible back issues except for issue 1 or a couple others. But now every a $10 minimum on any issue, and then it goes up from there basically. So
sorry, I was distracted by Charlie's messages here yet again.
Damn. I mean,
but yeah, for me,
that's about all I got to say about Battle Beast. So we can wrap things up.
Yeah, no, we can wrap. And then I wanted to at least touch on the fact that Gromit's wrapped. Alec has not been able to read it, so I'm not going to spoil it or anything. I will say the final issue felt less like a climax and more like an epilogue. So people may be expecting it to like upgrade the intensity and the action and the drama and all those things. It felt more like like a quiet epilogue than it did like the culminating event, if that makes sense. I went into it expecting like, wow, each issue seems to upgrade the tension and there's some subtle and sometimes overt violence and things. It felt like it was escalating, and then that final issue did the opposite. It just was kind of like, I need to read the whole thing as a story to see how I felt about it, because it felt like a letdown in that I felt it was building towards something, but I may have just missed where the climax was. And I did not go back and reread the previous issue. I just read the next one. I knew what happened. But the previous issue didn't feel like a climax, and this one didn't feel like a climax. So I got to put them together and figure out like, where's the story beat that I missed, basically.
Interesting. Well, I'll let you know what I think once I do finish it.
Yeah. I'd be curious to and maybe when that trade drops, maybe that's another discussion where we can read the whole thing, because it was very interesting, very fun story. But I'm curious to kind of see it all strung together as one big read.
I'm into it.
Yeah, man.
I'll read Remender anytime.
Same.
Cool. Well, that was a good chat. Feel like I always kind of out of practice with these things since we do it so infrequently now, but it's always fun to hang out and chat comics. Is there anything you want to talk about that you got coming up?
No, on Saturday I'll do my normal live stream, but I'm pretty I'm busy with work stuff lately. I'll drop my normal video tomorrow. I think it's a look at the movies coming out this summer that I'm excited to see. So
yeah, it's quite a few.
Yeah, it reminded me of when I was a kid and all the big summer blockbusters that would come along.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they could all be huge letdowns, but there's a lot of interesting things that I at least am potentially looking forward to.
Yeah, and a new Spike Lee joint.
To see what's on your list. And we got D&D on this very channel on Sunday nights. We're getting very close to the end of this campaign. We'll see if they can all survive to the end, but kind of a weird place to jump on now, but stop by. It's fun. We make stupid dick jokes and stuff. So
it's true. And Sacrificers is very good, Chaos, and I think I'd like to read that in like a hardcover collected edition at some point. I've been keeping up, but I think I'm one storyline behind, one arc or maybe behind.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by and saying hey, no matter what. The guilt trips. I mean, even I didn't call them, so I'm a step below Matt. Even. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out and putting your 2 cents in the comments, even if we disagree with you. We don't know what we're talking about. You're probably right. So don't listen to us. We're just a couple of jamokes. Until next time, where we will be on John's channel next month. So go subscribe to him if you haven't. Probably have. Yeah. Probably. Until next time, never turn your back on the ocean, right? Okay, bye.